Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bloop and a Blast podcast. My name is Big Sexy. I am the Bloop. His name is Luke Hughes, aka Hughesy. He is the Blast. Mate, we're back. It's bittersweet, but we're back. What's going on?
We are back. There's so much that we need to talk about, obviously.
We've got to talk.
It has been a fantastic month off from baseball, has it not?
Has it been a fantastic month off from baseball or just some fantastic month off talking to me every week like
You
this?
know what? I thoroughly
Don't answer
enjoyed
that.
our time apart. It's been fantastic. Having to listen to you, talk to you, do all
Listen to
that,
my
mate.
stupidity. No. Well, we caught up. Let's just break it up real quick before we get into, I think, why everyone's here. We caught up a little bit. I saw you. You came over. That was cool. I was wearing the Hughesy shirt in public. Lots of people were pulling me over as you're wearing the Big Sexy shirt. Nice to see that it still exists. I thought you'd burn it, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, we caught up for a few, and I think, look, the real reason everyone's here, there is some big news, and the big news is this, Hughesy. See that? That's a medal for the Morley Eagles. How about it?
That is, and there is another reason, obviously, why I'm wearing the Morley hat tonight, and do have to big shout out to the lads, the whole club, entire club at Morley Eagles. What did you guys win? State League Reserve,
A grade,
A grade,
B grade. Didn't get told. Yeah, they didn't get told when the game was. We're still waiting for them to show up.
That's touchy. Lockie Dale probably won't listen to this one, but no, I know we are very proud Morley Eagles people. So congratulations to lads. But hey, look, congratulations to all the teams that won championships, not only the state league competitions, but all the way down to all the junior clubs, all the women's teams. So it's been a big end to the season. So congratulations to everyone.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to dive into it real quick, just talking about that really quick. Firstly, State League. So those guys, there's some crazy stats. Go and look at it on Baseball WA. I'm pretty sure you could get to the Game Changer link. Matt Kennelly, okay? TK's brother, one of 38 Kennellys, I think. There's so many. I don't know. I've only been here for a year and a bit, and I still don't know how many Kennellys there are. You know them all. But the Matt Kennelly gave up, listen to this, 90 innings. He gave up 9 runs all year, right? And not rubbing it in, like I'm not being a prick about it, but like for me, that for the State League team, I was like, they have to beat Matt Kennelly. And they got like 4 or 5 runs off him in like 4 or 5 innings. And it was just like, whoa, like crazy, because the guy has like produced this crazy ERA over the season. Anyways, that's like me like giving like a bit of a shout out to Matt Kennelly. Had a bit of fun with it, but also like, holy hell, man, the guy just produces.
The funniest thing about this, everyone remembers Matt as the superstar catcher, and since he's finished playing, he doesn't catch anymore. He just hits and plays a bit of right field, but is one of the most dominant pitchers in the Baseball WA competition, and did win the MVP for the league this year. So congratulations to Matty. But yes, the Morley boys finally did get over the Kennelly clan and the monkeys over there in Perth.
Yeah.
So
it was unreal. The celebrations were unreal. It was really cool. And like, yeah, huge shout out to the boys. I mean, like if I were to continue on, I mean like Hawley, Jess Williams, like Bodge hit like so many home runs. Like it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And then of course, Rezzies, we finally got it done. But
you got to shout out Kizza Hall.
Kiz, of course, yeah. Sorry, it was a while ago, man. I'm trying to remember.
We're just rolling out the Heat team,
pretty much. But no, like everyone contributed, man. It was good, and of course, Mitchie Graham, the absolute legend that he is. I mean, just what a guy. Anyways, I could go on, but we won't. That's not why we're here.
I better mention Wazza too. He finished.
Was there. Hey, that
he showed up.
Warwick Sawpold, I know him. Yeah, what a great guy. Anyways, let's stop talking about club ball. I think we all know why we've had to dust off the microphones. Hughesy and I were like, how do we do this again? What's going on? We're happy to be back, but also like, how long are we back for? Maybe that's a real question that we've got to talk about as we go on in this thing, right? Like, what are we going to be doing? Anyways, look, the reason you're all here, you know it. Unfortunately, news broke earlier this week that the Melbourne Aces have pulled out of the ABL competition. Hughesy's favourite team. Obviously, he played there as well. You know these guys. Now, our thing here, we're going to be pretty transparent throughout this whole process with everyone here. we're not here, and I'm not trying to speak on behalf of you, Hughesy. I will say it from, we are a partnership in this thing, and I'm not here to, as much as I will make silly jokes, I'm sure I can't help myself, but we're not here to slander anyone. All right. We're not here to talk shit. We're not here to be one side or the other. We've got friends and people that we know in both sides of the camp. Everyone's been great to us. As a couple of guys that just do a podcast talking about their favorite sport and their favorite league. We don't want you to take it like that. All right. We're here to basically talk about what's transpired because there's a lot of people when this news came out on Monday, right? We're recording this on Wednesday. This will drop on Thursday. A lot of people that were scared and were like, what the heck is going on? Maybe a bit of outrage because they were caught by surprise. And so, yeah, I had to say, I think is that fair? I think that's, we're not coming at it from any other angle than just, hey, like this is hectic. We don't really know what's going on. We're in it just with you guys, and we're here to sort of report what's already sort of been spoken about and maybe throw our opinions on it as fans. And of course, Hughesy's been a former player and a big part of the league and all of that as well. So here we go. Should we dive into that? Do you want to add anything more to that, Luke, or not?
No, you covered off really well, mate. And obviously we just want to discuss, as you said, both sides and, do we really know more about one side or the other? I'm sure as the time goes on and progresses, obviously Aces came out and followed their initial statement with a little bit more in-depth statement today. And, we'll discuss that. But, in saying it, it is tough, right? And it
Yeah.
is sad news, and it's 100% something that Ralphie and the Aces crew didn't want to do. But I would say that reading their article and what they had to say, and obviously I'm privy to some of that information just through the connections that I have prior to today's announcement. He didn't want to make this decision. Ralphie
Well,
loves Australian baseball.
yeah, totally. And we'll get into that, I think, because how I think we'll do this is we'll read it as it sort of occurred. And for those listeners, sorry if you've been following it, but there's a lot of people that may be like, what's going on? So here we are. Let's go and explain it. And I think the thing that we need to remember, like you sort of touched on it there, Husey. I don't know, mate. You might have seen me on the telly, mate. I'm a media guy now. This is a developing story. Okay, that's what we've got to look at. Like, this isn't one and done. I don't think. I feel like this is going to carry on. And me personally, I'll tell you right now, when this happened, I thought to myself, I would be terrified if this was 2 weeks out from the season. Right? We're in April, the end of April. Hopefully, maybe. And look, I'm naive. You and I have spoken about this off air. I'm naive. I feel like maybe there's a chance we can get everyone back together and we get back to the table and hopefully this gets sorted, right? You potentially have a different viewpoint on that, and that's totally fine. We'll get into that after this. Here we go. So this is what broke on the 28th of April as per the ABL website. Melbourne Aces withdraw from the Australian Baseball League. The Australian Baseball League announced that the Melbourne Aces have withdrawn from the league after discussions between the ABL and the Aces. The ABL were informed by the Aces of the decision to withdraw from the competition. Baseball Australia and the Australian Baseball League thank Brett and Sean Ralph and the Melbourne Aces for their long-standing commitment and contribution to the game and the league. Baseball Australia President David Hines said the Aces have been major contributors to baseball for a significant period. It is a loss to see them withdraw from the league. We thank the Ralph family and everyone involved in the Aces organisation for their contribution to baseball in Australia. The Aces have achieved tremendous success both on and off the field over many years. The ABL will continue working with ABL teams and planning for the 25-26 season. That come out on Monday. Hughesy's phone was blowing up.
It was
Partly from me, like, what's going on?
I was like at work, and then all of a sudden the phone started blowing up and getting the link sent to me, and basically asking, "What have you heard? Or what's going on? What's going to happen to the league? Is there going to be a league?" And the one thing, sitting back finally, was it Monday night, reading all the comments.
Comment section was
from
wild.
and I took probably a good hour and a half, right? Just going through all the comments on all the different forums, trying to get, I guess, a view of what the fans and the people that have supported not only the Melbourne Aces, but the ABL and their respective teams. And, there was a lot of hate thrown at the Aces for their, I guess, decision to withdraw from the league. And basically for me, just wanted to know a little bit more information, right? And to be honest with you, I kind of knew a little bit. So reading a lot of the comments, a lot of people were uninformed, but that comes down to the press release in itself. Okay, there wasn't a lot of information there, and obviously the Aces within the group, within those chats, basically, this is kind of the plan, more to come. And yesterday, sitting there, waiting for something to be posted, and then today, Wednesday, finally it coming out, and
Well,
it was the Aces opinion. I'll get back to the other part. So back to
yeah,
the opinions of the people, right?
yeah.
As I said, there was a lot of hate directed at the Aces, and look, people jump to assumptions and sit back and look at it and go, you know, why are you doing this? You're ruining Australian baseball, etc., etc., etc. So it was a tough read,
It
mate. It was
was. It
tough
was
to read. It
hard.
was tough to read.
It
To
was
be honest
hard.
with you, it was really tough to read. A lot of the comments when kind of knew a little bit more. There's more to the story.
So on that same day, the Melbourne Aces released their own version of that. I should say it is quite longer. I won't read it all, but you're more than welcome to go to melbourneaces.com.au. Melbourne Aces begin an exciting new chapter. They talk about how they're stepping beyond the Australian Baseball League, proud legacy, and of course unmatched fan experience. They look to compete on the international stage, which at this point in this article says 2025 Ulsan. Here I am butchering names. KBO 4 League in Korea, home games at Melbourne Park. So the Korea League, October 2025, home games at Melbourne Ballpark, January to February 2026. And then they talk about membership options and things like that for the fans, right? So that is all the fans got on Monday. And that to add to what you're talking about as far as, holy shit, what the F's going on, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is all of this? Fast forward, obviously, there's some things, and we're talking, and I'm going, what the heck? And we're propagating and talking, and I mean, like, everyone's scared. Like, no one wants this game to go away, right? I think we've had that, and I think that's scary. I really do. Like, I fail to see if it goes away again, that's it. But the point of what I think we're going to get to, and we sort of spoke about this off air, and maybe rightly or wrongly, we should or shouldn't talk about this. But one thing that I noticed in those comment section and Facebook comments is fans wanting to know more about this, a bit more transparency, and we're not here to do that either. Like, we're not here to throw down the fourth wall or anything like that. But you really got that, right? Like that yearning for it of like all of a sudden it's done and what's happened and now we've got nothing. Like, what is going on? And so you can understand the rage a little bit. Like, to be fair, man. Like, and I get the whole thing because, of course, people, don't know the whole story. That's their whole thing. They're like, tell us the whole story. So let's fast forward to today. This is a long one. I think it's probably fair to read it out. Do you want me to read this message to the fans out, Hughesy? Is that
It's a long one. It's a very
It
long
is a
one.
biggie. It is a biggie. Look, I'll give it my best shot. And maybe we can pause at certain points and, you can sort of
let's
touch
do that.
on bits here. So
Yes,
you can also find this on melbourneaces.com.au. On their website, it is titled A Message for Our Fans. Dear fans, over recent days, Melbourne Aces have received numerous requests for more detail regarding the decision by the Aces to exit the ABL, the Australian Baseball League. Hopefully, we can answer your questions. The license to operate Melbourne Aces was secured by a current management team in 2019. At that time, we inherited a team with the league's lowest game day attendance, very few members, no sponsors, and the league's most run-down stadium. It was clear that significant investment was required. The broken scoreboard was updated with a $500,000 video board to the public address system was replaced at a cost of $150,000, $250,000 in new seating, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in improvements in landscaping, food and beverage facilities, corporate facilities, and improved facilities for the players. Let's pause there. Hughesy, you've always said that the Melbourne Aces have the best corporate packages. You've been there as far as the facilities for the players. I've seen some pictures on the internet, and I thought, is that real or is that AI? Talk us through that. You would have been around that in that time frame. What were those changes like as a player, and was it just Amazing.
Obviously, I went over. Yeah, so obviously, I went over to the Aces the year before Ralphie came on board, and the big thing at that point in time was either there was going to be no Melbourne Aces, okay,
Right.
and Brett Ralph thankfully stepped in, and Sean Ralph stepped in and took on the license, okay, knowing the fact of all these things needed to be improved. They are sporting people, right? They love sport. They support a lot of different sports, but own a lot of different teams. And knowing Brett's and Sean's passion for the game, you knew things were going to change, right? I remember when that scoreboard and video board went in, and when they were talking about it, I was like, holy cow, this is going to like change the look of
Yeah.
the whole place. And at the time, Brett, I was talking, look, let's get the big video board, let's update the speaker system. And that was probably the two big ticket items that they kicked off to start with, plus trying to get the playing surface a little bit better for the players, right? So that was like big ticket item number one, number two. And to be honest with you, I thought it was actually a little bit more expensive than
Yeah.
what was
Right.
reported on there.
Is it
So that
is
was
it true that you requested it bigger to just for
yes.
your face? Is that
It
correct?
was just to
Just
fit my
you?
head in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
fit my head in there. So, but like when that was going in, I was like, it just kept on looking bigger and bigger and bigger. When they put the steel
Yeah.
frames in there, like, geez, it's pretty big, and they start putting more stuff in. It just, adds a part to a stadium that no other, stadium has, baseball stadium has in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So then we kind of progress forward, and the corporate, I've always said this, the corporate hospitality
Yeah.
within Melbourne Ballpark has always been the best, right? Being able to sit that close in recliner chairs, and the option of it being cold out there in Altona, you could sit behind the glass wall in a nice heated room with TVs and memorabilia and a full bar setup, right? So it was fantastic. There is no other place that you can get that close. You can literally hear everything, what the umpires are saying, what the players are saying. You can stick your head in the dugouts. You're that close, right? And so the fan experience for the corporate hospitality area, it was just unbelievable,
I've
right?
never been there. Is it closer than Brisbane? Brisbane's pretty close.
It's close, but I think
Similar.
home plate, yeah, it's similar, but obviously home plate, the corporate's right there.
Right.
Brisbane's
Okay.
is kind of
Yeah, that's
slightly
okay.
on the sides, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, very similar. But what Brisbane offer compared to what
Yeah,
Melbourne offers,
that's off the
you
table.
know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, I was just thinking like, yeah, obviously familiar with Holloway Field. Anyways, yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So the big ticket items were kind of ticked off, and then it was slowly adding to what Ralphie's and Wernie's and Huber's vision of what the stadium, what they wanted it to be. And as you mentioned in the article, or which you get to probably in a little bit, is the Ralphs have fronted the entire funding to the
Well,
facility.
yeah. So let's get into this. All right. So the next paragraph. Unlike other teams in the ABL who operate out of stadiums managed and maintained by the government, Melbourne Ballpark receives no annual government funding. It isn't funded entirely by the Melbourne Aces and Baseball Victoria. The only government funding received for the maintenance of Melbourne Ballpark in the last 10 years was a grant to upgrade the lighting, a grant which required the Aces to manage and guarantee the project. That is to say that the Aces had to ensure the project was delivered on budget, with any additional costs be paid by the Aces. We delivered the project under budget, with the balance utilised to provide lighting for the second diamond and an upgrade power supply to the stadium. Good business, cool, great. The Aces invested in providing the best possible entertainment experience, and our strategy started to work. You, the fans, supported your team, and attendance grew year on year, with our most recent season seeing the Aces as the team with the league's highest attendance, more than the next two teams combined. Which, subtle dig, fair talk,
Mm,
little dig there,
yeah.
but that's okay. All right, this is the point. This is where it starts to get pretty interesting. You were talking obviously about the Ralph family's, investment in baseball as well as the league. So let's go into it and then we can unpack it. There's two paragraphs here that I'll basically just go through and then we can sort of nut through that real quick. Most national sporting leagues, such as the AFL, NRL, NBL, Supercars, Super Netball, BBL, provide teams in their competitions an annual payment. The ABL is different. Teams in the ABL pay an annual license fee to the ABL. This fee is just under $100,000 per year. For most of its time in the ABL, Melbourne Aces have paid their licence fee 2 years in advance. In addition, the Aces have twice paid the licence fee for other ABL teams. During COVID, the ABL was low on funds. The Aces assisted the league with operational costs, including paying the quarantine costs for the Perth Heat when they returned to Western Australia after competing in the National Championship playoffs. When the Adelaide Crows surrendered their licence for the Adelaide Giants, the Aces guaranteed to underwrite the Giants until a new owner was found. Fortunately, the Pelligra Group stepped in with only days remaining and no payments by the Aces were necessary. With the ABL accumulating ever-growing losses at a league level, the Aces struck a deal with Baseball Australia in 2023 to jointly fund league losses. The Aces recently made a payment to the ABL to cover part of the losses for the 2024 season, and Baseball Australia made a loan to the ABL to cover the remainder. In fairness, the Baseball Australia loan was significantly larger than the payment made by the Aces. The Aces have committed to the ABL to fund part of the 2025 losses. Once those losses are determined, we will honour that commitment. That's a bit there. Let's go into this next one and then we can debrief this. I apologise to our listeners, but
Let's stop. Let's stop for a second.
Okay.
That's very significant, and I think that's probably one of the. You can look at the stadium, the upgrades, and that's amazing, right? Fan experience, fantastic. Facilities. Everyone goes out there now and notices it. So that's unbelievable. More so to the point, I think that's one of the more important points that the Aces, the Ralphs have. Anytime the league has been in a bit of trouble or a team has been in a little bit of trouble, the Aces have recognised what that would do to the integrity of the league if one of those teams stepped away from it, okay, or wasn't able to, I guess, participate within that league, and what it would do dropping from a 6-team league down to a 5-team league. Or, that stage, there's probably the Korean team and the Walking to Atara in there as well. But, to be able to step in and go, nah, we want this to succeed. Here's the money. We'll continue on. And, for me, any owner that puts money into the game, into the sport within our country, I'm very thankful for. I don't always have to agree with what they do within the organisation. But to me, sitting back and assessing that and going, no, I'm going to put the money in. We'll cover it. Let's move on. And Brett would never have ever asked for that money to be paid back. Okay. Like, he is very, I guess, how do I put it? He just wants to see success within the sport, within our country. Okay. So he's done like everything that he can to support the league as an overall whole. Okay. Financially. So for him to do that, I think needs to make sure we thank and applaud him to continuing the league, because it wouldn't have continued without the support and the funds that he provided.
Yeah. And look, hey, look, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to read this next bit.
I just wanted to make sure.
No, and look, I'll be honest with you, we've been pretty pro Aces in this whole thing, but I think the other thing that really sticks out there for me and for maybe a lot of fans, right? So, doing this, getting to talk to people that I'm just a fan, mate. Like, I know some people in baseball, like everyone does, that spend their whole life in this thing. But the reality is I don't get privy to a lot of conversations and stuff, but maybe for a lot of fans, this is the first time they've heard that the league maybe isn't doing great and there are losses, and maybe that's quite shocking, so we're sort of ripping a lot of Band-Aids off at once, and look, and that's not to be a dig at the ABL either, right? Like, you look at it and you go, we know what we are. We know what we're doing, right? We're doing a podcast about a sport that isn't a mainstream sport in this country. There's a pie chart that keeps getting smaller as far as people that follow the sport, people that want to watch a podcast about two guys talking about baseball, right? So there's that as well. Like, and don't take it as a knock anyone or anything like that, but it's like, maybe this is the first time they're hearing this, and it is quite jarring to hear that if that's the first time. I know the first time I heard about it, I was like, holy shit, what? Yeah. So
I think I have to make everybody aware that is listening that doesn't know. No team has ever made money in the ABL. They have not walked away with a profit. Every team owner loses money every single season. Okay.
And now that's a terrifying thing to say, right? But that goes back to the point of what you were talking about before, Luke, about being the fact that any owner that wants to put money into this game, you commend. I would imagine, right? Like, because we've had this conversation before off air, but like that to me is probably where you're going with it. Don't take that as like, oh, what? Oh, it's lose money. Well, of course it does. Like it does, you know. But at least there's that money in the game, right? Like,
Hmm.
and maybe this is a good thing for the fans to be like, holy shit! Like, if we don't support this, this thing is gone. You know,
Hmm.
like like, hey, bit of a wake up call. Like, if we get another 2 years, make sure you pack the ballparks, guys. Like, what are we
Mm.
doing? You know, this could go away forever. I do want to get through this next one.
Oh.
Over the past 6 years, the Aces have been the major driving force behind the ABL. We are, without doubt, the most professionally run organisation in the ABL. Another like lovely little dig there. Anyways,
Mm.
including the league office, but all of this comes at a cost. The Aces have accumulated losses of more than $11 million. This is not sustainable. Over recent years, the Aces have attempted to engage with the ABL regarding an adjustment in direction. Matters of concern include, but are not limited to, broadcast schedule, player and coach sanctions, team league financial security, and cost reduction measures. The Aces have been frustrated that, beyond a lack in willingness to properly consider our concerns, we felt the ABL were working against our efforts to elevate the league and the sport. It seemed that the only time the ABL was prepared to engage with us was during periods of financial crisis, where they sought our support. Now, before we go on any further, I just want to say something, right? I will drop the fourth wall here on
Mm.
the back end of the podcast thing, right?
Mm.
For us, which is not, we're not fucking huge or anything like that, right? For us, we wouldn't really have this platform, right? Our follow account, our Instagram, and all of that, it grows week by week because of collaborations with pages like the ABL, with pages like Spacequake Sports, with the ABL teams that collaborate with us. Okay, we have followers and people that listen to the show and find the show at different times. And of course, Women's Inside Baseball pitch, Amy McCann, those guys, right? Everyone is working together to grow everything as best we can, right? So for us, for me, on behalf of me, I say thank you to the league and to those involved in the league, especially the media department, our mate Eric Ballner, that helps us grow this platform that we're doing and just our little podcast, right? That's I thinking about all of this, and I know it's different to the whole Melbourne thing, but I don't want it to be bashing the league. I don't want us to sit here for 40 minutes and just bash the league. It's not what we're doing, because there are really good stories, and I know there's really good people involved in this game. So that's all I wanted to say. But anyways, what do you think of that?
No,
That's
like
that last
oh,
paragraph though. That's wild.
it is wild, right? And I think that's the most kind of, I spoke about the improvements, I spoke about the financial commitment from Ralphie, but that last paragraph really, I guess, cements the reasons why he decided to, step away and take the team away and take it in a different direction. He probably found it, he's a very, very successful businessman, has done really well for himself, and essentially, when it all kind of boiled down in his mind, and he would have consulted with a lot of different people, and no stone was unturned. He's like, nah, we just can't. So that's where I think Baseball Australia board, ABL board, and Melbourne Aces probably butted heads the most.
Mm.
Okay. If some of those things, I think, would have been able to be rectified or discussed, things might have changed. But hey, look, we don't really know anything to do with the way, I guess, little bits, but what other thoughts of the other team owners? Like, what are they
Mm.
thinking?
Yeah.
What are they turning around saying, no, we don't agree with? And there are 5 other ownership groups within the ABL
Yep.
that hold a significant voice, and by the sounds of them and the ABL, they didn't want to, I guess, go through the changes and adjust the league and look at different ways. But to be honest with you, they don't have the money that
Mm.
Ralphie has, right? They don't have the resources to put in place because they don't have the financial backing to be able to do it. And you look at the game day experience that the Aces put on, and look at the game day experience some of the other clubs put on. Chalk and cheese, mate. They're just completely different. And Ralphie was okay to spend the money because he wanted to provide that on-field product with the playing group, the on-field product with the entertainment, and essentially off-field experience. Okay, so a lot of the things that obviously don't align with other teams and what they want to do. So essentially, in the end, that paragraph for me is the most kind of important. Like that's the most
Yeah,
meaning. There's a
yeah,
lot to it. There's a lot in that
a
kind
lot.
of yeah.
I'll finish this up, and then we can sort of go through what we think might not happen, and sort of provide a bit more of our opinions, I guess. Eventually, we reached the point where we had to consider whether we would continue in the ABL and advise the ABL that we were intending to withdraw. League officials requested that we meet with them one more time to find a potential solution, and we agreed to do so. At that meeting, rather than consider our concerns, it became clear that there was no intention to discuss our proposals. It was clear that our respective views on how to move forward were massively different, and clearly those differences could not be reconciled. The Aces could not continue on a path we neither believed in nor were prepared to fund any further. The Aces' time in the ABL was over. To be clear, this is another pretty important part. Uh, to be clear, we do not propose to apportion blame. The ABL is under no obligation to follow the direction advocated by the Aces. We claim no special entitlement, but the ABL was absolutely clear nowhere we on where. Oh my god, I thought I did all right reading this. Yeah, but the ABL was absolutely clear on where we were at and they made their decision. And at the Aces, we have made our decision. Having determined we would not be continuing in the ABL, the Aces had two choices: cease altogether or find another way to play. The financially sound decision would be to stem the losses and shut down. We have made the more difficult decision to try and find a way to continue on and keep our team together and our fans entertained. Many think it will be too hard and too expensive, and they may well be correct, but we are determined to try. You are the league's most loyal fans. We hope you will come with us. Now, obviously, the other thing that you're going to have to say here is like, and not just have to say, but anyone with a brain would work it out. There's two sides to this story, right? We've heard from the Aces. We've heard now post that was dropped today. You can look at the comments. I was pretty quickly trying to get a feel for what people were saying. As I said before, people wanted that transparency. They were so like, tell us what's going on. Tell us all of this stuff before they just close it all down or whatever. Aces come out with that, and a lot of people are like, you know what, fair call. That's what people were saying in the comments. That's what fans that were a couple of days ago sort of saying, hey, stuff ya. We don't want to deal with you. Goodbye. And now people are going, you know what, that actually makes pretty good sense. That's fair tip of the cap to you. Man, it's scary. Is it scary? Is it like a couple of teams have come out and said, "Hey, this is all in the midst of too, right? In the last month or two, maybe Sydney, part of the Sydney ownership that came out as a story, right? So no inside scoop here, but that's a story, right? That came out that part of the Sydney ownership group has pulled out, and that's fair enough to them. They do their thing. We don't know the story there other than what was reported. I don't. Maybe you do. I don't know. I don't care. It's not for us to talk about really, but. So there's a lot going on there, right? We find out that Melbourne has, as per their release, been providing financial support where they can to other teams and things like that. It's terrifying. Scary.
It is scary, and making note of when Major League Baseball did pull out of the Australian Baseball League was probably a very significant turn of events. They decided to obviously hand everything over, and the league was privatized. New owners came in. Since the start of that, I guess, part of the ABL, there has been a lot of ownership changing through that time. Probably now that people understand that these teams don't actually run at a positive, and they are in the red, and these guys and girls and the owners would turn around and be like, how much more money can I pour in to the sport? And they made individual business decisions to step away. And fortunate enough, there has been other people that have replaced them and taken on, I guess, nearly the burden of running an organization. Okay. There's been some successful people that have come and gone. And I can tell you right now, there's, as I said, no team runs like in the green. Like everyone's losing money. Okay. When is enough enough? Those individual owners have made their choice at them in their times. But there are teams that are struggling big time, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the truth. They are. How long can they continue to lose money? I don't know. I know one team many years ago, I think they broke even, and I think there's maybe only, correct me if I'm wrong, people, if you know more, but if from my knowledge, there's only been maybe one or two teams, and I'm talking only for a year. I'm not talking for multiple years on end.
Yeah.
They've actually just basically just broken even, and that's a win, right? That's a win. If the league, that team didn't cost any money, fantastic for those owners and those ownership group, right? So, moving forward with it, it's like, what's next, right? What is next for the Australian Baseball League? And I think that's really important to sit back and talk about, because I don't think personally the Australian Baseball League will come out post this announcement with any further information, or they won't return serve. They won't say anything. I think they'll be relatively quiet for a period of time while they work through the challenges that lie ahead around a 5-team competition, and what that potentially could look like. Okay. It changes the outlook of the season. It won't be a 40-game season, I guarantee that. I feel personally it will be a condensed season if we are fortunate enough to even have a season. And being a player, and you mentioned something earlier when we first started talking, and kind of want to gravitate back to it. As a young player coming through, I guess, the system, okay, I was young when the old ABL finished, but I had the ability to go out and watch a few Perth Heat games when I was really young, right? And I remember the crowds that were there. It was pretty amazing, okay? And then probably a lot of people, and on the comments that were mentioned throughout the last couple of days, a lot of people talked about how good the old days were, right? I probably got so sick and tired of hearing about the old days. I was like, I've been over it, right?
There's a bit of that, yeah.
I was like, mate, they used tin bats, they cheated.
Yeah.
I remind all the old boys of that all the time.
Yeah.
I say, go give Tim Kennelly a tin bat and see how many home runs he hits, or go give
awesome.
Bajowski, imagine Bajowski, or go give Darryl George, or Robbie Glendenning, or Aaron Whitefield, or any of these guys in the sneaker tin bat, they would hit tons. I get sidetracked. So, being able to watch a few of those games is, you kind of got that taste. And then I kind of went through the system, right? Like all through the state junior teams, and there was no league. Okay, there was nothing. It was just a Claxon Shield. So when it came to the time where I was fortunate enough to make my first Clacko Shield, it was just 1 week. Like we went away from 1 week.
Yeah,
that was it. Went to the Reedy Hill, played there, competed for it. Whoever won after the week, round robin, happy days, go on, and that was it. Right,
just like nationals, I guess.
You go back to your club ball, and then I signed professionally, and you come back from being away, and how do you get ready to go away again? Well, you play club baseball, right? That was it. You train, you play club baseball. The 1 week tournament comes around, you play in that, you go back and play club baseball. And so many years there, that's all we had. Okay. And then slowly it started to grow a little bit. They had added some more games. They kind of changed the structure around a little bit. This is before, Major League Baseball stepped in. There's a lot of talk for a lot of years around, the league's coming, the league's coming, the league's coming. And we're like just waiting for it to happen. And then finally, I remember the day it happened and it was announced, and, fortunate enough to fly in and be a part of the media release at the stage in Sydney with a few of the other lads. And it was probably the most exciting time for myself as a baseball player, being able to help usher in, I guess, the new ABL, right? And it was special. It was wicked. Like the start of it, you travel every other weekend, you come back to Australia from your professional season, and you get a chance to play 40 games, right? Jumped up to, I can't remember. One season it was like 50 games. I think it was an extra like 2 series season, right? And then it ended up dropping back to 40, which I think was is the sweet spot for it. And, it was great. You knew what was going to happen in the off season. You come back, a bit of a break, get ready. ABL kicks off in November, play through Chrissy, happy days, go back to the States. So there was direction there for the professional players. There was opportunities for international players to come out and play. There was opportunity for some young guys to come through and get a taste. And, everything was great. And it was it was amazing, right? And I have to say, the time that I got to spend playing for the Perth Heat and Melbourne Aces was unbelievable. Some of the best memories I ever have, right? And, I just love being around the groups, and, that's where your mates are, and you get to spend, 4 or 5 days in a weekend with your lads, right? The biggest thing that I sit back, and players are going to miss out on that.
Yeah.
Players are going to miss out on those memories. Players are going to miss out on those opportunities. The young players coming through the system now may not have the opportunity to play in the ABL league. I missed out on probably 7 years of playing in the ABL.
Yeah.
Like that to me is the most scary part is what is the outlook of Australian baseball potentially without an ABL? What is the outlook for the development of the players not having an opportunity to come back and play 40 games and get 120 at bats? Like, what does that look like?
What was Gonzo's quote when he was on the show? It is our high performance pathway as well as our marketing arm. That's what the ABL is.
Mm-hmm.
And look, maybe we're overreacting here. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the other thing. Like, and anyone that wants to reach out or sees this, that wants to come and correct us from anywhere involved in the game, let's put that out there, right?
Yeah.
Other owners,
Mm-hmm.
owners in Melbourne, BA, anyone. We're more than happy. Like like we said, we're not here to shit on
Yeah.
anyone. We're here.
No,
We're here
fair enough.
as fans, man. You know, we're here to talk about baseball. But maybe they just do go on Hughesy 5 teams,
Yep.
and that's cool. I get it. You know what? Honestly, I've said this to you. I really hope that, and I've said it already on this podcast, but I'm gonna say it again. I really hope this is something that maybe they can get back together and say, look, let's smooth this over. You've told me I'm way off the mark. That's not really a thing that's going to happen. In your opinion, that's fine. I get it, but hey, maybe.
Yeah.
We can only hope. We can only
Yeah.
hope. You're right. It is sad, and thinking about it from a player's perspective like that, man. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine being a young guy that's I don't know. Like, think about all the young guys that are about to break into the league now, right?
Mhm.
They might not have that opportunity.
Mhm.
That is sad. That is really sad.
Like looking at the development of the ABL, okay, over the years, and initially kicked off with a very, very, very low salary cap. Okay,
Yeah.
no players were making any money. They were playing for the love of the game. They got a few bucks to travel, but it was nothing, right? Like, didn't cover cost. But there was a lot of talk around. Look, we're here to grow it. We're here to nurture it. We're here to help develop it. And essentially, at some stage, things would change. More money would come into the league if everything was run right, and the salary cap did increase. Okay, and players started to get paid a little bit more money, and therefore, when they came back from their professional careers, if they've been released, if they were coming to the back end, they had the ability to continue to play the game, right? Which is really cool. Okay. A lot of players would come back from pro ball if there was no league back in the day. That was it. You play club ball. There's nothing. There's no opportunities to really re-sign anywhere. You can't showcase yourself. You can't get back over to the States, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, wherever it is, Europe. For me, looking at what the ABL is, and it's different in many aspects, right? It's the development league. It's a league for national team players to get ready to go away to the World Baseball Classic, and that's concerning to me. What the
Yeah.
outlook of
Right.
the league is going to be.
Yep.
How the players are going to get prepared. If it is a shortened season, what's that going to look like? Is there going to be a season? If there's not a season, how the guys get ready? So there's a lot of stuff there leading into a World Baseball Classic year that are important, right? And for me, I can't wait just to find out what's actually happening. And we're not going to hear anything, right? It's end of April. We're probably months away from hearing a schedule, hearing what it's going to look like. Generally, the ABL don't announce the schedule till really close towards the season. It's just the way things operate. And so,
Do you think we
yeah,
get like a Geelong Korea back, that type of vibe? Do you think we maybe work with New Zealand again? Something similar? Do they expand into somewhere else? Lismore? No. I don't know. You just put it out there.
what I
Gold
do think
Coast?
will happen, I think there'll be a condensed season. I think there'll be less imports.
Yeah.
I think there'll be tighter import restrictions due to the less games. I think it'll be more Australian specific because of the World Baseball Classic. I think everyone understands. Honestly, I think it will turn. And look, I really hope I'm wrong, and I really hope this 40-game season, and I really hope they continue to be able to develop it and keep it at that schedule. But I'm a bit of a realist, and for me, I just feel that they won't be able to, and I just feel like it will come back. Maybe they play a round robin. play each team once, finals, that might be it. That might be how they end up.
Well, like 6 week season.
6 week season, play everybody once, finals, and, kick off, call it start of January, play 6 weeks, done, or mid-December, play through that period, play through Chrissy into January, finals, boys jump on a plane and go to hopefully a training camp in
So
Nagoya. Is it Nagoya?
in Nagoya again? Yeah,
Nagoya.
yeah, it would be. Yeah. So, Fuchu.
Fuchu. Sorry, Fuchu. Yeah.
We're good. We're
We're there. We're
professionals,
getting
guys.
there.
We
We
got
get
this.
there.
Hey, and also look, just so you know, fans listening well, not fans of our show, but fans of baseball. Hey, if the team ain't making money, bruv, we ain't making money doing podcasts. So if you want to sponsor the show, reach out. That'd be
What
nice.
money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said this. We ain't making money on doing a podcast. No.
We can put a logo right next to
Hey,
like
I'll
Big Sexy's head
sell
or something like
real estate anywhere, guys. It's all good.
that.
No. So coming back to, there's a couple of things there to talk about as well, real quick, because we will wrap this up shortly. But another thing that's interesting is, and can we talk about the KBO and that whole deal that's going on as well? Like, because we talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit about how the KBO has now got some restrictions as well on players. You're explaining a lot better than me, right? Can you go through that as far as what's going to happen moving forward with the KBO and how this might affect some of the players in the ABL, guys that have played indie ball, guys that are
Yeah.
playing affiliated? Yeah.
So the KBO came out, and if everyone doesn't know what KBO is, Korean Baseball um, Organization, right? So basically, what they came out was, look, there's going to be one player on every team that has to be Australasian, right? So that means that hasn't played in professional baseball this season, that hasn't played semi-professional baseball this season, like independent ball, that they're allowed to pick up. Okay, and they have to be in that space. Okay, so unfortunately for any player Australian that's played independent baseball this year, they can't play.
Ineligible.
Right, ineligible. So there's a group of players, obviously, that are in Australia that have known this for a little bit and have made some decisions, and tough decisions, potentially to sit out playing independent ball this year, for the opportunity to potentially go play in Korea next year. A lot of talk has been happening in the background from these clubs to significant people within our industry here in Australia around certain players that obviously will play for our national team or would play for our national team, and they can get paid up to 200,000 US dollars. Okay, so anywhere from 200 backwards. Now they have to have at least one player on there. That's still you can still be Taiwanese and you can still be Japanese, but similar things means for them. So players within our, I guess, country have the opportunity to go there and play. So does it affect them not playing in the ABL this year? If there isn't an ABL, what does that look like? They're going off previous stats. They haven't played in a high leverage game. I'm talking above club baseball if there is no Australian Baseball League. So we need it, right? You need the Australian Baseball League for many different reasons, but you also need them to get ready for the WBC, showcase themselves, and hopefully find themselves on a KBO roster, which is really cool, right? I wish
Yeah.
they had this back in the day. Like when
Yeah.
I finished playing, like I sit back going,
You would have been huge in Korea. You would have been big.
also, obviously not good enough. Can you imagine the commercials I would have done with Woz?
Oh,
Would have been
yes.
hilarious.
I still haven't found them. So internet
Yeah.
sleuths, find me a Warwick Sawpold commercial, please.
He's got them saved, so we'll just get it off.
He
him.
has them
But
saved, but he won't give them to me. But anyways, that's all right.
I'll find them, mate. They're so special. That opportunity itself to give another chance to play professional sport in Korea,
Also,
and there's a lot of guys, mate. There's a lot of guys that fall in that space. You got the Wells boys.
young bloke in his 20s, let's say that, right? And a young bloke in his 20s that's played a bit of baseball, right? Might have gone in and out of pro ball, whatever, made a little bit of money. The opportunity, up to 200,000 US dollars. That's good coin.
Yeah.
That's good coin, man, for a kid.
Well, it keeps you in the game, right? You go over there and you play well, for example,
Yeah.
get a few years out of it, and happy days you set up, right? And there's, as I said, there's guys like the Wells brothers, Whitey, Berkey, the pitchers, Colin Wins, floating around
Yeah.
over there in Japan,
Obviously,
I think.
Perth guys.
Like all
Young
the Perth boys,
studs.
Hawley, and like Kizza Hall, like who knows? Like Kizza Hall's pumping 95 now. Gets a chance to play in the ABL this year. Someone might go, shit, this guy's pumping 95. So
Absolute
look,
stud.
there's another avenue there for these guys, and this is where I really, hope the Australian Baseball League does continue in some capacity. So if these teams do come out and have the ability to watch the players, go, okay, look, bang, 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 here's a chance to play. But I
Yeah.
think this opens up. I think it's in November, the opportunity to sign players. So look, that. Yeah, how's it going to play out? I'm not
Is
sure. I
is that
really hope.
is that a similar situation to Maramundo that like, hey, you got this contract worth say X amount of dollars or whatever it was? It was it was Maramundo, wasn't it? Sean Maramundo this year wanted to finish the season with the Aces, but couldn't because they were like,
Mm,
hey, it's also all this money. Go
mm,
get the money, kid. Which is
mm.
like so like maybe a lot of these guys can't play in the ABL anyways. If it is there, does that impact the ABL's decision making, the team's
Well,
decision making?
well, there's spring training too, right? So there's
Yeah.
KBO teams down here in Australia that kick off in January, right? So yeah, there's a lot of different things there. Would they be allowed to play? Would they want them to be with their team? Would they release them to play in that schedule? Who knows, right? And every organization has different philosophies, and what they end up saying goes, right. If you want to play, you just have to listen to what they say their rules, right? So,
Mm.
look, there's so much going on, bubbling away in the background, and like it's not all great, but it's not all doom and gloom. Okay,
Mm.
there will be something. The Australian Baseball League will do something. In what capacity? Who knows? And I don't think we'll know for months. Okay, I don't think this is something they come out in the next 4 weeks and say, look, this is what the season's going to look like. Blah blah blah. I just don't. I feel it's going to take some time. And as you said before, if anyone wants to jump on and have a chat to us, like and tell us what's going on, or say you're wrong, what you're saying, the information that you set out there are
Yeah.
wrong, mate.
Yep.
100% jump in, fill us in, like talk to us about it. I'm just kind of going off what I kind of feel and what I've heard. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at.
And look, at no point, like I said earlier on, we're not here to shitbag anyone. I think we all know we love the ABL. We all know how much Hughesy loves the Aces. He tipped them
You
every
keep
fucking.
saying that. No, I just thought they were
No, I
going to
know.
win. You're such a tosser. All the Heat guys were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun. That would be fun. No, look, we don't. We're not here to shitbag anything. We want to see it keep going. We want to see it grow. We want to see it be awesome, right?
Mm.
But yeah,
I'll
I'm
make
glad we
one
got to
point.
talk.
I'll make one point.
Oh yeah,
If the league fails, you won't see it again. Like if they
yeah,
decide there is no league, there will never be a league. Like
yeah. I
it,
feel that
it was
too.
talked a lot about, when this version of the ABL kicked off. It was like if this ever failed, it would never be kicked off again. I hope Major League Baseball come in and go, bang, here's blah blah blah. We're going to set up like this, and we'll help support it. I love that for happen. I can't see it happening. Okay,
You don't
I
think
can't.
they dip back in?
No, I
Really?
know there's some people, funny enough, on Facebook on the chats and stuff, like saying this and saying hopefully Major League Baseball come back in. They won't. I
What makes you
see.
think they're done? What makes you like they're just like, hey, we set you up, guys. We can't keep bailing you out. Is that like a bad precedence? You think?
Well, is there not so much correlation to like what's happened now? Like Ralphie essentially sat back and said, "I just can't keep bailing you out. I can't keep pouring the money in and potentially
Yeah.
not seeing any change." Right. So what's the difference? Major League Baseball come back
Serves
in.
Major League Baseball a little bit better though. But I guess they probably just not really. They probably just send their players to another league.
It's probably only the only way it would be one of the major MLB, KBO, MPB would turn around and go, look, we'll pour some money into it, we'll support it. That's the only way I can see it continuing. There's no other white knight out there that's going to come in and chip in money to save it.
That's what we need though. Maybe we need like this is like Wayne Bennett in the '90s with the Super League, right? Everyone goes and starts their own NRL. Come on, we need a white knight. No, I'm being silly, but maybe who knows? Hey,
Yeah.
you're probably right, Yuzi. You know this landscape way better than me. I'm hopeful that something comes up and something happens, and we can talk about this again in the near future. But like you said, I agree. I think if anyone wants to come on and tell us that we're incorrect or just have a chat, let us know.
Mm.
We had plans for the off season. It revolved around talking to guys playing professional baseball and have played professional baseball.
How
But
hard is it to organise time
oh,
zones, like
time zones
availability?
suck, bro.
schedules. I'm in
Yeah.
Melbourne, you're in Perth, guys are in
I'm
the
easy.
States.
I'm
It's
easy.
like
You're
it is,
busy. You're a busy guy.
you know,
Everyone,
work,
people have been
kids.
like, "Hey, what's going on with the podcast?" And I'm like, "Man, Hughes is a busy guy. I'm busy, but I'm happy to muck around and talk to you. But this guy's busy as heck, man. Like, let him go." I have had a lot of people come up to me though, and there was one bloke at Charter. I've been coaching a Charter team, and we get to travel to Lismore, which from Lismore. But it's really cool. It's really cool, and they're sick little dudes. A shout out to the guys. But I had one guy come up to me at Charter and go, "Oh, how's the podcast going? I really like it." And for the life of me right now, I can't remember his name. I apologize. I had a mad yarn with him for 5 minutes or so, and we were hanging out at Wanneroo there, and he said, "Oh yeah, you and Hughesy, great, right." And I
Would it be
said,
pricey? Was it pricey?
maybe. Yeah, it was a name like that. Like he was, yeah, he was an absolute great dude. I was having a
Yeah.
mad yarn with him, and I said, "Oh, you don't think Hughes is a dickhead?" And he goes, "Nah, he's cool." I was like, "Oh, wow." So there's one person out there,
Pricey wouldn't
Hughes.
say that. Pricey wouldn't say that. You're a liar.
No, it was cool, and yeah, like so. Think that's just really nice. It was cool, and I was
Mm,
like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome." So we want to keep doing this for you, and look,
mm,
open invitation. Anyone wants to come tell us that we're absolute idiots, that's totally fine. We're not here to slander or talk shit. We're here to state the facts and maybe give a little bit of insight that Hughesy might have and talk about how we feel about as fans. So anything else you want to talk about, Hughesy? I think the
no.
KBO thing's interesting. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that guys, you know, the whole indie ball aspect to it as well. I think
Mm,
it's just now that this is all happening, it's a weird time and we've got the WBC. I mean, how cool would it be to see? So, all right, let's go back to Kiz Hall, right? Obviously, I'm a big fan of
mm.
him, but like guys like that, right? Young guys that now go to the WBC, right? Crystal ball this shit. Go to the WBC, get picked up. Oh, there's a kid throwing 95 here. Pretty
Mm.
good slider. Okay, I don't know.
The,
That's
yeah,
cool.
that
That's what happened to Moilo.
and that's the thing, right? Like, there's guys around that could happen. There's something around it that I think most of these spots will be filled by the time the WBC comes around. Personally, I think
I'm
when
not even
the
saying KBO guys. I'm saying like
mm,
big league clubs. Hey,
mm.
chances there. It's happened before.
Yeah, I think you see it happen more so with pitchers than you do with hitters. There's not a many Australian hitters that sign free agent contracts, right? Like
Okay.
I think Rickson did, obviously signed with the Twins, but I think that was out of indie ball. Back in the day, Trent Alchin did, Huber did, Glenn Williams did as position players, but there's not a lot. Okay,
Mm.
so I sit back and look at it and go, more of an opportunity for a guy like a Kisor, like a Wellesley, those types of guys that are still playing here that can go there and compete and go, all right, look, let's give this guy an opportunity and take him to the States. So 95 players anywhere, okay? You throw 95 plus, bang, someone's going to pick you up. Someone's going to give you an opportunity. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But look, to be honest with you, it's been great talking to you, mate.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
been good catching up.
and to everybody, look, I understand it. We've had a month off and, or longer. But to be honest with you, sometimes you just need a break, right?
Hey,
And a
it's been real
refresh.
nice. Although I have been like rushing home because we usually record on a Monday. I'll be rushing home and I'll be like, "Oh, Hughesy's not going to ring me. He's not going to tell me he's ready." This is nice. What do I do? What do I do? My missus is like, "Hey, can you do a podcast?" I'm sick of talking to you. So no, there's that as well. You guys are awesome. If you haven't already, make sure you follow at Blue Blast Podcast. You probably found us there anyways, but we're all over the socials. We're there on Instagram. We're there on Facebook, and of course the TikTok. I haven't looked at it since the holidays, so who knows what's going on there. Maybe we're rich. Maybe we're blowing up, man. That'd be sick. Or of course, hey, if you want to watch the episode, if you're not just listening to it, you probably listen to it on Spotify or Apple. But if you want to watch it, go and check it out on YouTube at Blue Blast Podcast. Pretty simple. That handle going to get you everywhere. We appreciate you guys so much. And look, hopefully we've got some better news. Maybe we're back here in a week, Hughesy. Maybe this is all we needed. Maybe we just needed a kick in the ass to get back on the mic. Who knows?
Yeah,
We'll see.
absolutely.
We'll see. Hughesy's busy. I got nothing going on other than coaching some legends in charter.
Just
So.
blaming me.
Yeah,
Just
it's all
literally
Hughesy's
blaming
fault.
us,
No,
right?
I'm not blaming you. You're busy, bro. You're busy. Anyways, we'll talk about it off air. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Peace.
Going back. This ball's